Hi everyone. That hurt. Smacked my hand on my desk. It's cool. So this video, there's going to be two videos in this email. This one is going to go over the short story, Where Are You Going? Where Have You Been? It is going to be lengthy, so grab some popcorn. Okay. So where do we start? This is probably one of my favorite stories to discuss. Mostly because there's so many different interpretations to it that we don't know the real reason. We don't know the real motive behind doing this story. We really are very in the dark by Oates. She wrote this in 1966, and then you'll notice at the top that it says it's for Bob Dylan, okay, the famous musician. Nobody knows why it's for him. You can try to Google it. I joined Twitter to try to find out. Because Joyce Carol Oates is also on Twitter. She is quite the tweeter. She tweets very often, usually about her garden, or a cat. Are we surprised? Probably not. Anyway, she claims that this is she hates this story. She hates everything about this story. She will never explain what those numbers mean. I'm going to offer you my own interpretation of what they mean. But she said that this is her most hated story. She hates it. And she wrote it. Anyway, I think it's wonderfully done. So we'll start at the beginning, okay? So she's 15. Everything about her has two sides, okay? Good old Connie. And maybe we chose her name Connie because of the word con that's in it. I don't know. And a con usually involves kind of being a little two-faced. I don't know, okay? So we're first introduced to Connie, who's 15, her sister, who's 24. So she's 9 years older than her and has a job. But Connie, of course, doesn't have a job because she's in high school. Her mom is kind of mean to Connie. You know, stop gawking at yourself. You think you're so pretty. And we assume, and Connie tells us, or the author tells us rather, that this is because the mother used to be pretty and then she had kids and now she's not pretty anymore. It's really sad. Anyway, her looks are gone, and that's how, that's why she's supposedly always after Connie. So then we're introduced to the dad, who essentially does nothing. He goes to work, he comes home, reads his newspaper, eats dinner, reads his newspaper, goes to bed, same thing the next day. Okay, we get very little from the dad. It's literally nothing. That is the only snippet of information that we get about him. And I think it's really just to show that the girls are not from a divorced family or a separated family, or anything like that. I think it's to show that they have a mom and a dad. Not sure though. Okay, so the only thing that Connie really likes about June is that June is allowed to do whatever she wants. And when she does that, Connie's kind of allowed to tag along. Okay, so when Connie wanted to do something, she was allowed to go. The father of Connie's best friend drove the girls the 3 miles to town and left them at the shopping plaza so they could walk through the stores or go to a movie. Okay, on the first page, just so we know. Maybe I should share this with you. Hold on, so that we can follow along. Okay, so we are right here. Okay, this literally, it's like the 5th paragraph in the beginning. See, okay. So he would drop them off. They could go see a movie. They could go do whatever. She really, the mom didn't care because June was going out. So everything was fine. Anyway, the girls are a fairly familiar sight. Okay. Let's just say that they go out every weekend together. She has long, dark blonde hair. She wore part of it pulled up on her head, part of it down. She wore a pullover jersey blouse that looked one way when she was home and another way when she was away from home. Everything about her had two sides, one for home and one for anywhere that wasn't home. Let's see. Semicolon drawing at home. Okay, so sometimes they did go to a movie, but sometimes they just said they were going there, which, let's be honest, how many of us have said to our parents, this is what we're doing, but we're really doing something else, and we know that our parents would hate us for it. Okay, so this is a very typical teenager act, I guess I should say. So this one time, her and her friend decide that they're going to go, instead of going to the movies, they are going to go to the burger joint across the street, where they let's see, where are we? They meet up with some guys. Trouble. Sorry, I really do enjoy this story a little too much. Okay, so Eddie comes over and is really into Connie, and he says, hey, you know, like, why don't we, you know, why don't, okay, my kid's around, so I don't say too many things. You know, he asks Connie if she wants something to eat. She said she would, tells her friend, you know, I'll meet you. And then Connie attempts to, like, not save face, but I don't know, make us feel that she has a sympathetic bone. She doesn't want to leave her friend alone. And Eddie, the boy, is like, don't worry, she's not going to be alone long. So anyway, Eddie and Connie eventually go into an alleyway and they end up having sex. And then they come back, okay? So on her way to the alleyway with Eddie, this guy is in this gold jalopy car, and he's kind of like this, wagging his finger at her, and then puts an X in the air right over her, like, you know, X marks the spot, okay, and says, gonna get you, baby. And Connie doesn't hear him, okay? This is just something that we are privy to. Connie doesn't hear him say that, but she sees this action, okay? So she spends 3 hours with Eddie. We're here now. They're at the restaurant, they eat, they also are, you know, having sex, and whatever. So by the time her and her friend meet back up at the friend's dad's car, they, you know, how was the movie? You should know. You know, we both know we weren't at the movie, so, okay. I know. She gets home, her mom and her sister ask how the movie was. She says it was okay. They would go out a few times a week. Everybody just kind of dissolved back for her, but it's fine, okay? This is kind of just some background noise, I guess. Mom asks her about this Pettinger girl, okay? This comes up in the movie that I'm going to show you, the clip I'm going to show you. Hopefully it works. We'll see. Okay, so Connie calls her a dope and complains. There's some, you know, we get a sense of some family tension between June and Connie. That's fine. That's typical. They're sisters. I'm supposed to go check on my husband in 5 minutes, and I hear some loud noises. I'm sure he's fine, right? Okay. So one Sunday, Connie wakes up and she wants to wash and dry her hair in the sun, and she doesn't want to go to this barbecue at her aunt's house because it's just no fun. So she decides to stay home by herself. Okay. Now, this is a very, I don't know, good story. So anyway, so she goes outside to let her hair dry, and she says it's too hot. So she goes inside and she's listening to Bobby King on the radio, and she's paying very close attention to herself is what it says. Okay. Now, this part can be interpreted 2 different ways. Okay. So one, Connie is falling asleep. The other, she is paying close attention to herself. She's already a very hypersexualized person, so that means that she's masturbating. Neither of these are accepted over the other. They're just 2 completely different interpretations of what this means. Okay, and we'll get to the rest of that in a little bit. Okay, so she kind of wakes up. She hears a car coming up the driveway. She looks out and she realizes is that it's not her parents. It is that gold jalopy that she saw at the burger joint. Okay, so now she's like, oh shit, I gotta fix my hair. Like, do I look okay? Because she's very, very vain. She's a very vain character. Okay, and I think that that vanity plays into her hypersexualized self. So she looks out the door and here comes this guy and he says, I'm not late, right? And she goes, what are you talking about, you crazy fuck? And he said, I told you I was going to come get you. I hope I'm not late for our date. And she's like, we did not make plans. Okay. So there's some dialogue between them. She fidgets because she kind of, he tells her that she's cute. And when a guy gives a girl a compliment, they're like, I know, but if I say that, I sound conceited. So I'm just going to fidget and look uncomfortable. Sorry. So she then realizes that in the car, he has Bobby King playing, who she was just listening to. Okay. Now keep in mind that there were two possibilities, two interpretations, okay, of the Bobby King music. All right. So he points to this guy, Ellie, okay, who's playing with that radio, and that's how Bobby King is playing. And she thinks that he's great. He thinks he's great. This is all great, great, great. I know. Okay, so Kanye blushed, and, you know, she says, what's all that stuff painted on your car? And he says, well, can't you read? And it says Arnold Friend, and that's my whole name. That's my full name, and that's what I want to be. I want to be your friend. Okay, and that's Ellie Oscar. He's shy. Don't listen to him. This isn't his date. It's my date. Okay, then he shows some other things. 33, 19, 17, these numbers on the car. Okay, and then next to that, sorry, I'm just listening. It says, done by crazy woman driver. There was a dented taillight. Okay, so she's kind of like, this is weird. Like, your car's not a piece of art. And it's supposed to be painting all over it. But anyway, Arnold Friend then says to Connie, don't you want to go for a ride? And she's like, well, I don't know. Like, she's a little suspicious. She doesn't know this guy. He's, you know, we're going to get to his appearance in a little bit about how he looks older than he really says he is. He says he's about 18. He is not. Okay, so she says, you know, typical girl answer, like, I have things to do. I can't. Sorry, bye. He laughs, but he has like a maniacal laugh, like he's overly laughing about it. And he's standing in an odd way, like he's trying to keep himself balanced. He's not really that tall. She notices that, you know, he's dressed how everybody dresses in that James Dean kind of style. Tight jeans, a white button-down shirt with his sleeves rolled up. Okay, you guys might not know who James Dean is. Maybe you should Google that. I don't know. They're tucked, you know, his jeans are tucked into his boots. He's got a belt. And let's see. Let's see what else. So then he says, Connie, you ain't telling the truth. This is your day set aside for me to go for a ride. And she's like, wait a second. How the hell do you know my name? Well, suspicious. Okay. And he says, no, it's Connie. And she said, maybe, maybe not. And he's like, nope, nope. I know that your name is Connie. Okay. And then, you know, he says some other things, but we're not there yet. She asks where they're going to go. He doesn't really say, he just says for a ride. Okay. He looks at her, he took the sunglasses off to show how pale his skin was around his eyes. There were holes, not in shadow, but instead in light. His eyes were like chips of broken glass that catch the light in an amiable way. So we're giving that contrast. Okay. So broken glass is not something we consider to be a friendly thing, but amiable is friendly. So we're giving that little contrast there. Okay. She still holds tight to this fact that she never said that her name was Connie, but he knows that that's what it is. And he says, I took a special interest in you, such a pretty girl, and found out all about you. Like, I know your parents and sister are gone somewhere, and I know where and how long they're going to be gone. And I know who you were with last night. Your best girlfriend's name is Betty, right? So now he's super creepy, and Criminal Minds would tell us that he was a stalker. Okay. So she kind of looks at him and is like, what the hell? How did you figure this stuff out? Now he says, listen, Betty Schultz, Tony Fitch, Jimmy Pettinger, and Nancy Pettinger. Okay. Now if we remember, Mom asked about that Pettinger girl. Okay. So Raymond Stanley, Bob Hutter. She says, how do you know everybody? I know everyone. You're kidding. You're not from here. Sure. But how come we never saw you? You saw me. You just don't remember. So at this point, you know, Connie is starting to kind of get confused. Like, I don't get it. How do you know so much? But let's just point out the fact that she still has not shut the damn door. All right. She continues to have a conversation with him instead of just shutting the door and ending it. She could have simply just shut the door. Okay. You know, they have some more banter about it, about, do you think I can't drive so good? Are you worried about your hair getting ruined because it's a convertible car? Like, what's the problem? He also says, like, don't you see that I'm your friend? And she's kind of like, I don't know shit about you. let's see if it's right here. So I'm gonna be feet apart. Sorry, sometimes it's hard for me to remember exactly where these things are, and I don't want to get too far ahead. But she realizes something while they're talking, and she asks how old he was. Not an atypical question. She doesn't really know him. He says that, you know, you probably just don't remember seeing me, but you've seen me. And he's like, that's crazy. Can't you see that I'm your age? And she's like, yeah, no. He's like, yeah, okay, I'm a little older. I'm like 18. And she really doesn't believe him, okay? She really doesn't believe him. And so as a diversion, Arnold's friend then goes, oh, so that guy, Ellie, yeah, he's fucking crazy. He's a riot. He's a nut. He goes, you know, he kind of goes off about Ellie. And Ellie just kind of looks like a sickly guy. But anyway, she says, you know, he's kind of strange. And then he's all excited about it. He's like, hey, he thinks you're kind of strange. Oh my gosh, this is the best day ever. He really is very, very erratic, very crazy. Okay. Let's continue. Connie then says, I think you guys need to leave. And he's like, wait, why? Today you're going for a ride with me. That's what, you know, we talked about this. We told you that you set this day aside to go for a ride with us. She says, no, I have things to do. He's like, what? She goes, you better leave. We're not leaving until you come with us. And she says, like hell I am. Connie, don't fool around with me. I mean, don't fool around. Okay. So now it says, he placed his sunglasses on top of his head carefully as if he was actually wearing a wig. So that's the idea of having that fake appearance, those two appearances that Connie has, okay? She also notices that his eyes look like there's makeup on his face and on his neck because his neck doesn't match the same color as his face. So it's kind of like makeup in the 90s where we wanted our face to be like absolutely orange and then forgot about our pasty necks. Yes, that was a trend. That was a thing. Don't know why, but here we are. We have outgrown that. Thank you so much. Okay. Everything about him and even the music was familiar, but was also only half real. So she then says, you know, if my father comes and sees you, and he says, he's not coming. He's at a barbecue. And she's like, how the hell do you know that he's at a barbecue? He says, Aunt Tilly's. They're doing this. There's your poor, sad sister. There's your mom. He says all these things that she's like, how in the world do you know this? So he clearly is stalking her, or there's another interpretation. But anyway, I'll get that at the end, okay? So, sorry, my pregnancy is making me a little uncomfortable at the moment. So they continue to stare at each other, and now Arnold's friend kind of crosses a little line, all right? He says, now what you're going to do is this. You're going to come out that door. You're going to sit up front with me, and Ellie's going to sit in the back. You're my date, and I'm your lover. And she's like, whoa, pump the brakes. No way. He says, yes, I'm your lover. You didn't know that. You don't know what it is, but you will. I know all about you. It's real nice. You couldn't ask for nobody better than me or more polite. I always keep my word. I'll tell you how it is. I'm always nice at first time. I'll hold you so tight you won't think you have to try to get away or pretend anything because you know you can't. And I'll come inside you where it's all secret and you'll give in to me and you'll love me. Yes, he actually 100% means that he is going to ejaculate inside of her. That is exactly the interpretation there. There is no misinterpretation on that sentence. Okay? So now she's freaked out. She's like, oh, what is happening? Who are you? Why are you at my house? What is going on? So she says, shut up, you're crazy. And she backs away from the door and she says, people don't talk like that. So you're effing nuts. Okay? She sees, she sees his face and he kind of wobbles and he's like, I'm sorry, are you still listening to me? And she just goes, get the hell out of my house. Get out of here. And he says, be nice, honey. He's trying to be so sweet. And she then says, I'm going to call the police. And she watches his smile kind of fade away. And he says, listen, I'm not coming in that house. I'm not going to come in that house unless you touch that phone. The second you pick up that telephone is when I'm going to enter that house. Okay. So she goes now, finally, she tries to lock the door And he just says, why lock it? It's just, you're only stuck in a cardboard box. I'll just burn it down and you'll come running out to me. And she thinks about it. She's like, yeah, it's a valid fucking point. So, yeah. Mm-hmm. Now, we obviously know we could have avoided all of this if she just had not gone to the door. But then again, where would we be with the story? Excuse me. There we go. Okay. So she then asks him, like, what do you want? And he says, I want you. And she's like, but no, no. What are you doing? What do you want? If I call the police, they'll arrest you. Promise was not to come in unless you touch that phone, and I'll keep that promise. I ain't made plans for coming in that house where I don't belong, but just for you to come out to me the way it should be. Don't you know who I am? She continues to say, you're crazy. She's now very much in denial that this is happening. So let's see. So now at this point, Ellie kind of interrupts all of it. And he says, do you want me to cut the phone lines? Because Ellie clearly knows what Arnold Friend's intentions are and doesn't do anything to stop it, which we'll get to that as well. And he tells him to shut up and that he's crazy and don't crawl under my fence, don't squeeze my chipmunk hole. So basically, like, if it's not yours, don't touch it. Okay, this is mine. You'll have, you can get yours later. So Connie is now very freaked out because he has flipped from being this like sweet sing-songy guy saying, I'm only going to come in the house if you pick up that phone and I know everything about you, to now screaming at his friend Ellie. Okay. And then of course, Arnold's friend again tries to divert the conversation to something else about the lady down the road with the chickens who's dead. Wonder why. Okay. She asks, what are you going to do? And he says, just 2 things or maybe 3. I promise it won't last long and you'll like me the way you get to like people you're close to. You will. It's all over for you here. So just come outside. Now that can obviously be interpreted in a few different ways. Like an arranged marriage kind of way of you'll get to like me, like you'll grow to like me, or I don't know, the rapey kind of way. Sorry, I said it was there, but we're getting to that part too. So we have to get that there. Okay. So here it is. She puts her phone, she decides to run and get the phone. All right. She turned, bumped against a chair, hurting her leg. She ran to the back room and picked up the phone. Now, remember, Arnold Friend has said multiple times that he is only coming in the house if she touches the phone. She has now touched the phone, and so he is in the house. Yes. Now, this is where interpretations can sometimes be, can be different. Okay. So she's very sweaty. She's clammy. She's very nervous. She begins to scream into the phone, into the roaring. She cried out for her mom. She felt her breath start jerking back and forth in her lungs as if it were something Arnold Friend was stabbing her with again and again with no tenderness. That simple sentence, that one sentence, says that Arnold Friend entered the house and most likely tried to rape her. Okay. This is something that is very difficult to do when writing. I gotta turn this down. How do you say that without actually saying it? And Oates did that just in this area. Okay. Now, of course, when I show you the clip, it does not show that. So it is completely up to the reader's interpretation as to if this happens or not. But we're gonna get there. Okay. So she's now sitting on the floor. Her wet back is against the wall. And now Arnold Friend is back at the door saying, put the phone back. It's a good girl. Okay. Now you can come outside. And she thinks to herself, I'm not going to sleep in my bed again. I'm not going to see my parents. I'm not going to see my mom. And all of these, these things. This place where you are now inside your daddy's house is nothing but a cardboard box I can knock down at any time. You know that and always did know it. Do you hear me? That's what Arnold Friend says to her. Then he says, we'll go out to a nice field. That's not creepy. Weirdo. Okay. So she ends up getting up and leaving and going with him. And now the very last sentence is that she sees all this land that she didn't recognize, except to know that she was going to it. Okay, so we're stuck now with this. What the hell happened? Everybody's like, what happened to her? Is she dead? Is she, what's going on? Okay, so the idea is that this story was written after or about or was inspired by, however you want to look at it, the Pied Piper of Tucson. He was a serial killer. His name was Charles Schmid. Schmid. And he, with his best friend, no, I'm sorry. It was him and his girlfriend got her best friend to go to the field with them for like a picnic, and then the two of them raped her and killed her, and I don't know, something like that. Google the Pied Piper of Tucson. That's where the story kind of comes from. Supposedly, we're not really sure. Again, still not sure on how it's connected to Bob Dylan. But anyway, I'm going to now do something. This is part of my favorite part. I get very out of breath over this story because I just get so damn excited. All right, so we're gonna do, we'll do the numbers first. Okay, and then we're gonna do another text box over here. Okay, so I wish that we were in class so I could ask you which one you want to start with, but we'll start with 33, 19, 17. Now, I am going to attempt to draw pretty lines. 33, 19, 17. Ha, I am getting better at this. Okay, so 33 is probably how old Arnold Friend really is. Okay. And I say that because, you know, she, why can't I move that? Sorry, guys. I'm very, very bad at this. She can tell by the fact that, you know, he looks like he's kind of wearing makeup. He looks like he's wearing a wig. She says that it looks like his boots might actually be like high heels, like he's taller than his boots make him look like he should. So maybe he has some type of insert in his shoe. Everything about him just looks off. Okay, so we are going to assume that his age is really 33, not 18. All right, now we get to 19. The secret code. Okay, we're going to assume that this is not Arnold Friend's first time. So we are going to okay. Well, there we go. And then, of course, right, because then what number in this 1917 sequence would come next? Right, now how do I change the color? Let's change it to red. It would be 15. And that's Connie's age. Okay, so we have Arnold's age, the age of his first victim, the age of his second victim, and right where we're at is Connie's age. All right, so now what we're going to do is hop over to his name. Yay, this is so fun. Okay, so we're going, nope. I want this. I want that to go away, go away. Sorry guys, I'm not very good at this. Okay, good. I don't need it that large. So there's 1 and 2. So we're gonna get rid of the R's because we don't need them. Okay, so now what do we have? An old fiend. You're welcome. I know. So we take the R's out of his name and we've got an old fiend. Or if you wanted to take out the, you know, the RNN from Arnold, it would be an old fiend, an old friend. Okay, so there's different interpretations that you can make there. So there's also, of course, now I'm going to switch it to maroon, sure. Okay, so interpretation number 1 is that the whole thing is a dream. The whole story is a dream, okay? And Bobby King is what sets it off for us, okay? So as she listens to Bobby King, the part where we start to say that this could be a dream or she's masturbating, Okay, that particular paragraph, that's where the dream would start. She has now fallen asleep because she's listening to Bobby King. She's outside, right? And she was, if we remember, she was focusing on her breathing. So she could have possibly fallen asleep. So interpretation number one is that the entire thing is a dream. Okay, and then of course there's always the other way that we could go if I could spell. Oh my God, interpretation number two. The whole story is real. Okay. So those are your two interpretations, that yes, it does happen, or that it's a dream. And then I'm going to give you guys that name just in case you do feel like Googling it. Charles Schmid, the Pied Piper of Tucson. Okay, you guys can look him up if you want. All right, so with this, I think I'm going to now that I've discussed everything that I love talking about, I'm going to try to show you the clip. It might not work. I did post the link. You know what? Actually, I think I'm just going to leave the link. It's easier. You'll recognize Connie. Her real name is Laura Dern. Laura Dern. She is the girl from Jurassic Park. So you will recognize her. And then there is Treaty Williams. I can't remember the hell his name. The only thing that I suddenly can remember him from is Miss Congeniality. But you will recognize them. They are a little eccentric. I do recommend watching it. It is a really good visual. You will not see any type of rape. The way they go with it is that it was a dream. Okay, that is how they interpret the story. So I do recommend it. I'm going to show you real fast. Here it is. Okay, so this is what it's called. It was called Smooth Talk. All right, and this is the timestamp that you should start it at, 56:53. She's sitting on the stair listening to Bobby King. I don't want to show it because it's an entire half an hour of watching this clip, and I don't think I need to make this any longer than I already did. So I included it in the email. Hopefully you guys watch it. I don't know. I think it's pretty interesting to watch it because it's such an interesting story. But anyway, I digress. I'm going to let you guys go do that. And I'm going to make your next video for you on what you're doing. Okay, so bye guys. Stop share.